Grand Rising, good people. See, y'all were getting ready to say, you on mute, as y'all should, as y'all should. But no, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. Hold on. Taking this thing off real quick. How's everybody doing today on this lovely morning where we get to wake up and see Jasmine Crockett winning the Nah, that's mean. That was mean. That was mean. That was mean. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. Let's not make it about Jasmine Crockett. Shout out to y'all. We got some amazing quotes. I saw Maya definitely showing some love to the quotes that came through already. Y'all know Big Bro Finn and Big Bro Steve always come through with the initial energy to kick off the show. So we'll go over a couple of those. But as you're joining, please make sure that you like. That's going to get as many different people in the building as possible. I was sitting there pausing because I'm like, oh, they're probably sitting there wondering like, yo, where is he? Where is he? Yeah, I'm in a new spot. Just know that. Just know that. So we don't have anything up in the background. I feel like I'm neglected. When I don't see my Sandlot pick in the back, I feel like there's something wrong. You feel me? But neither here nor there. We'll get all that taken care of. So it's good to be with y'all. Hold up. I heard Von's in the building. Oh, no. Hey, Vons. Hey, OG, what happened to you, baby? Why you ain't campaign for your girl, Jasmine Crockett, bro? She out here talking about they cheated. The Republicans cheated. And the whole time I realized, wait, it was a primary. She lost to a Democrat. Yo. God is good. Now, all right. I'm not going to do too much. But, hold on. I got to wait for Vons to respond. No, Vons. Jasmine Crockett lost. Vons didn't find out. Von's about to have a bad day. Hold up. The Vons thought it was still. Vons didn't know she already lost. Oh, man. All right. All joking aside, let's get to see all that acting coonish and niggerish. I guess it didn't pan out. She should have just acted as her education shows that she should act, instead of trying to appeal to people with a limited IQ, using limited IQ speaking in order to appeal to people. James Tallarico, I don't think he used that. And I guess we're seeing the results of that. That worked for a little bit, but I guess things changed. All right. So Big Bro Finn started us off with, if it's endurable, then endure it. Don't complain. Marcus Aurelius. The Honorable Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, Book 10. True contentment comes from authenticity and following your own path, not conforming to others' expectations. I'm sorry, I got it. If you can see on my screen how it looks, I can't see that word. All right, be real, even if it means walking alone. Ward. Okay, Big Bro Steve trying to come through, man. This is something we could put in a song or something. War does not determine who is right, only who is left. Think about that. War does not determine who is right, only who is left. And a lot of times who is left, that's who writes the history that is taught to us in class. So think about it from that perspective. All right, shout out to Oluwehi in the building. Oluwehi, how's it going, man? How's it going? How's Ramadan going? Shout out to Uluwehi in the building. Let me keep going. Shout out to Bub in the building. Morning, family. You guys are in here starting us off with great quotes. That is a fact. Oh, the stream wasn't pulling up for you. It was probably me because I put it up late. It may have been on my fault, depending on how early you were looking for it. Shout out to Paula. Paula, how you been? And I know Paula's been sending me some great articles on Discord, and I'm like, every time I'm like, yo, I gotta get to Paula's articles, so I'll make sure I get to those. But Paula, it's always great seeing you. So Paula said, hello, I'm back. Been writing a commission, so I had to pull the plug on most social media. Nah, when you lock in, you gotta lock in. We understand. Shout out to Bubbles in the building. Bubbles and Butterflies. Great way to start the morning. I agree. Um, you can't change the system, but you can beat it. And when you do, show other people how to beat it too. That's a fact. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing here. We may not be able to change anything, but at least we can inform as many people as possible to think maybe in a different way than they previously thought with a limited scope. Even it's not about getting people to agree with us. It's not about getting people to agree. It's about getting people to think for themselves rather than just listening to mainstream news talking points. Think about it. We've had generations upon generations of people who can't think for themselves. And let me rephrase that. Not who can't think for themselves, but it was very hard to. When you don't have social media, when you don't have a lot of influencers that may be representing a lot of the thoughts and questions that you may have on a particular topic, when we don't have that, it becomes very hard. The scope becomes very hard. Like we tend to gauge our thoughts based on the range that we see. So if we see mainstream news outlets just speaking from a range of here, it's hard to think and ask questions that are outside of that range that is being presented to us. And when it comes down to it, we're going to look at a couple different examples today where you look at something like the war with Iran. There's a lot of both Democrats and Republicans that seem to be wanting to push us in this direction, but for different reasons. The conservatives and Donald Trump, they're saying, oh, well, we're with Israel. Or maybe they're not saying that as directly, but it kind of came out. But they're saying it for one reason, which is we can't have Iran with nuclear weapons. And then you got Democrats that are leaning more into, look at all the protesters. We need to free Iran, free Iran. And it's kind of like, wait, y'all are pushing for the same things, but just selling it, right? That's their job, to sell it to the public. They all have the same product. They just realize that, hey, we have different target markets. So therefore, we need to adjust our pitch. Let the Democrats pitch be this. Let the Republicans pitch be this. So the whole time it looks like they are against each other, but no, they just are appealing to two different audiences. That's what it seems like to me. Let me put the heat on a little bit. So that's the place that we're in. So once again, we're not trying to get people to just believe in whatever it is that we're believing in. No, that's not the goal. That wouldn't lead to anything positive. That's just more controlled thinking. Do your own independent investigation. Look into things. Be comfortable asking questions. If things don't make sense, cool. Say they don't make sense to yourself and then do the due diligence, do the research. We have every opportunity now. Like I said, past generations, we did not have that. We did not have the internet. We did not have social media. It was discouraged in a way that people who may have thought that they were formulating their own thoughts weren't, just weren't. So, but that's all just my opinion. That's all just my opinion. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Once again, we got Vons in the building. It's a great day, Vons. It's a great day. And make sure y'all hit that like button. Hit that like button. Shout out to Mama Lay in the building. Shout out to Mama Lay. Dan Crenshaw lost too after showing his true self the past few months. Yeah, I've been hearing Dan Crenshaw has been bugging out a bit. That was the guy with who was making like the threats to Tucker Carlson or something like that. Isn't that Dan Crenshaw? If I'm wrong, then my apologies. But I believe that's the guy. He has an eye patch. I believe that's him. Maybe I'm wrong. I may be completely wrong, big bro. Let me know. Shout out to Phyllis. Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. What's up, Phyllis? Hope all is well. Tapping in early as she always is. Definitely, definitely. Hey, family, Finn, I still got to post that. Yo, I love this. I love this. I love our energy. I love our family, man. Blue Line. Shout out to Blue Line. Grand Rising. Grand Rising. Shout out to Boogie Boog in the building. Grand Rising, Boog. Guess it's no rules in war. That's the thing. That's the thing when we always talk about war. We can't have war crimes because there's always going to be a justification to violate it. Once you give the green light on you're allowed to kill somebody, are there really any other rules that matter beyond that? Like once you get the green light, okay, we're allowed to kill. Okay, we're allowed to kill people in order if they disagree with the things that if we have a disagreement and we feel like taking it there, then we can kill each other. Once that is on the table and okay and justified, what else is there? What else is there? So let's keep it moving. Shout out to Critical in the building. Shout out to Critical. I missed something. Did you change stream times or schedule? I don't think so. I don't know. Critical, everything should be pretty much the same. Now we're so just a recent update. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 8 a.m., which really means 8:02 a.m. And I think today was like 8:03 and 30 seconds. But yeah, I think we doing the same thing. Iran, Cuba, Venezuela is mostly about bricks. It's yeah, it's mostly about bricks and it's about control. It's about power. All of this stuff is. It's about greed. It's about greed. So here we are fighting wars based on people at the top, their greed. When ultimately all this greed causes is death, destruction, poverty, chaos to the actual people. There's a reason. I mean, when I looked up some of the things, and I'm going to share this with y'all because I was looking up some of the protest numbers when it came to, I should say, some of the death tolls when it came to the Iranian protesters. And I've heard people say with confidence, like 30,000, 50,000. I even had somebody say 100,000 protesters have been killed. And I was sitting here and I'm like, yo, how do they even get these numbers? I was going through it in my head. I said, how do they even get these numbers? Because if there were 100,000 people who were killed in protests in Iran, it just like brings about a question mark as far as like, well, how many Palestinians were killed? Because look at where they live. And I understand that it was a different type of thing where, you know, they're mostly bombing war zones, I guess, right? But it just didn't make sense to me. Then when I started doing a little bit of digging, you know what else I found out is that, well, and Maya was actually telling me this one with Iran, they shut down their internet. So they shut down their internet. They very similarly to the Israeli government, they don't let independent journalists in. That's what I was reading. So just the same way that people want to assume certain numbers and call out the Iranian government for not allowing independent journalists in, perhaps we should have kept that same energy when it comes to Israel, because we may never end up knowing how many Palestinians have been killed in that conflict. We may never know. We may never know. And it seems like when I was talking to both Claude and ChatGPT, the number seemed to be under 10,000. And I believe it was a lot under 10,000 as far as these the amount of people, protesters that have been killed, which paints a totally different story. All lives, obviously, any deaths or tragedies, you know, you go into a protest or any other reason, it's a tragedy. However, when it comes to how they're trying to manipulate us into being okay with having all these strikes against Iran, then it makes sense. They're trying to boost the numbers as much as possible so we can look at this as a humanitarian issue. Wait, this is a humanitarian issue. We have to step up. If not us, then who? Well, if we don't get involved, then maybe it'll turn into a Hitler situation. And imagine if we had that mindset with Hitler to stay out of that. Yeah, we go down all these different paths. We get it, but no, doesn't mean that we need to get involved. You know, let people handle their own problems. So give them the freedom to do so rather than trying to put sanctions on them to create chaos in their country in the first place. So now they have a lot of these protests. But I guess that's too much to be expected. All right, let's get into some of these topics. I'm already behind. I'm already behind. And Vons, you hit the nail on the head, bro. They want us to hate Iran. And I refuse to do so. Like I'm not gonna hate Iran. I'm not gonna hate Iran. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna hate any of these countries. I'm not gonna hate, definitely not gonna hate Palestine, just based on I don't know how they would get us to even, you know, consider that type of thing when you look at what has happened to these people. But I don't hate Israel. I strongly disagree with the things they're doing, but I don't hate Israel. I don't hate Israelis. I'm sitting here thinking about even Bibi Netanyahu. I just really hate the things that he's doing. I hate the things that he's doing. I think he's moving in a demonic way. I think he's an evil person right now. Now, when I say right now, I mean he's an evil person. I don't hate him. I hope that he figures it out, because you know all that hatred is just going to create more hatred and probably feed into exactly what Bibi Netanyahu wants. You know, so a lot of times you look at Israel and it's like, wait, BB, do you want people to hate you so then you can justify doing all the other things that y'all need to do or that you want to do? Justify, oh, well, because everybody in the world hates us, that's why we need our Jewish state. That's why we need to keep growing. That's why we need to keep bombing all of these countries. That's why. And maybe this is a good segue to get into the first video that we're going to review, which is and real quick, man, this is like the third time I've seen this come up. If Glay was here, he would be saying like, yo, it's just an ad. Well, even if it's an ad, bro, if you want us to come to y'all, put the bread up, man. Stop playing. But let's like I said, let's get to this first video. So this is kind of what set the tone on creating the thumbnail for today's show. Take a look at this video with your boy Marco Rubio. I got all these damn tabs open. All right, take a look at this one. Take a look. Hold on. Let me share it with y'all. Listen to what he's admitting and the justification for why we're going to war. I'm gonna play. He starts talking about it at around the 40-second mark, but I'm just gonna play the entire thing just for context. I want to make sure y'all get the full context of this. All right, so here we go. Where am I going to chill? I'll chill over here.
So look, the United States conducted this operation with a very clear goal in mind. I haven't got a chance to see a lot of reporting. I don't understand what the confusion is. Let me explain it to you, and I'll do it once again as clearly as possible. Perhaps you'll report it that way. The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been done.
Yeah. He tried to like have a continuation to the sentence. Like, bro, put a period there and let's process what you just said. Put a period there. And notice how he tried to say that it was clear that if Iran came under attack by anybody, if anybody in the world attacked Iran, then that they would retaliate against us, America. That became clear. So, we had to strike them first, bro. And then he says anybody, America, Israel, anybody, bro. There is no anybody. There is no if you name two countries, America, Israel, and if it wasn't the American decision, then who does that leave? So pretty much, let's take a step back. Let's take a step back and process this. So Bibi Netanyahu reminds us that Iran thinks of us as the big Satan and Israel as the little Satan. Then why are we being controlled by our little homie? Why is the person that we support, we give them money, they wouldn't even be able to exist in this region without us. Why are they dictating what ends up happening with our country? And why are their moves dictating the threat that happens with America? You get what I'm saying? You would think that our politicians, our leaders would say, hold up, y'all ain't making this decision because y'all making this decision puts American lives at risk. And because we fund y'all, because y'all wouldn't have any juice in that region without us, then therefore y'all are not going to be the ones making decisions, especially while we're in the middle of negotiations. When Iran came out, and I guess take this with a grain of salt, who knows? But when Iran came out and said like, yo, we had some positive steps, I believe on that Thursday into negotiations. This is the clearest example that I've heard thus far with us understanding that our government is being controlled. Influenced is not it's not a strong enough word. Our government is being controlled by Israel. Can you believe that? Our government is allowing decisions that Israel wants to make to complete their greater Israel project that they wouldn't be able to complete without our help. And they know that this is going to put American lives at risk. And because they knew that it would put American lives at risk, we made the decision to strike them before they could strike us. And they think that we're just the idiots that sit back and hear them say this and, oh, that sounds logical. Yeah, that makes sense. Listen to this again. Listen to this again.
Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond and respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact,
this man, and we got to run this back at least 15 more seconds. So then he proceeds to say that, yeah, so Iran, we had to strike them because anybody, aka Israel made the decision that they're striking Iran. So therefore, we had to strike Iran, because if Israel strikes Iran, then it puts us at risk, our bases, our young and brave, right? So therefore, and then he justifies it afterwards by saying, yeah, and that was proven that they were going to strike back against us, because when we struck them, they within an hour started striking us. Like, do y'all understand this logic? No, Marco Rubio, you don't get to just sit here and tell us that, oh, well, yeah, we struck them because they were going to strike us. And then when they strike us back after we strike them, see, that proves that they were going to initially strike us. That's like two kids getting into a fight and one kid deciding to punch the other kid, right? Brian decides to punch John. And Brian says, well, John was going to punch me, so therefore I punched him. And after I punched him, after Brian punched John, John swung back. So therefore that proves that John was going to swing at me. No, bro, you just punched me, bro. Like that doesn't mean just the mind games. This is mental manipulation. And Vons wrote a comment, I think it's on the screen. They must think we're stupid. No, we are stupid. Now, overall, as a people, we are stupid. We are stupid. We have to acknowledge exactly what we are in order to change our situation. We are a stupid group of people when it comes to politics. We have to admit that. We sit here and bicker between Democrat and Republican, Democrat versus Republican, while the people that actually get stuff done, they control both. I heard, and Critical, don't get upset, but just the point that I'm making. But I heard Nick Fuentes say the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with voting how, pretty much saying how Americans vote, Democrat versus Republican. I'm doing what Jews do." That's what he said. Now let me break down exactly what he means by that. Well, whatever. Let me break down what I mean when I say similar things. Who gets their agenda completed, no matter who's in office? Pro-Israel Zionist, right? Big Pharma, Silicon Valley, and whatever other big banking institution, right? The people with a lot of money. That's who's getting their things done, because they put this money, they put their leverage behind both parties. Meanwhile, we're the idiots that continue fighting Democrat versus Republican, Democrat versus Republican. Oh, well, who am I voting for? Well, who's the Democrat candidate? Or I'm not voting for a Republican. Or who am I voting for? It's the Republican candidate. I'm not voting for a Democrat. Instead of just looking at it from a standpoint and saying, yo, who has shown a history of executing the things that I want executed? Who has shown a history of being able to bring the things that I want brought to fruition to reality? Who has shown that they're already working on those things? Not the people that are making blank promises, not us feeding into propaganda of, oh my God, Donald Trump's going to have us in chains and shackles, which now, when we're seeing a lot of this stuff, it may be worse than chains and shackles in a lot of ways. But what I'm saying is us becoming fanatics of these parties and us looking at politics from a very fanatical view has landed us in this position. So we have been extremely ignorant, is the nice way of saying it. We have been extremely ignorant and naive when it comes to us understanding how these how the politics works, how these politicians operate, what moves them one way or another. So let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Whatever amazing things Rubio has to say.
Those that already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act. Going back.
These people are evil. These people are evil. They're very hard to hate, actually. They're very hard to hate. What they represent, I definitely hate, but these people are pure evil. Imagine being a master manipulator in order to get people okay with us killing other people that we wouldn't even have an issue with if it wasn't for our special relationship with Israel. Our special relationship with Israel. This is evil. This is evil. This is 100% evil.
To the purpose. The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program or their nuclear ambitions.
When it comes to nuclear programs, nuclear ambitions, do we realize that when it comes to, what is it, the NPT, the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty? I forget, I'm probably mispronouncing it. I think that's what it's called. It's a group of countries that have acknowledged that they have nuclear weapons. And the law is, the US law is that we can't, I believe it's US law, it may be international law, but I believe it's US law. Something that we've agreed to is that we can't support any country, their war efforts, if they have nuclear weapons and they are not a part of this treaty. So why is the focus so much on Iran creating a nuclear weapon? First and foremost, what gives a country the right to tell another country that they can't have a nuclear weapon? Can you imagine that if they told, let's say that if they told only a certain group of people, like only would we be okay if only Muslims could have guns in this country? Would we be okay with that? Only Muslims can have guns. Muslims are peaceful people, though, so we should be okay with that. I know they try to make it seem, right? But we should be okay with that, right? Because that is the same logic when it comes to these countries thinking that they can control who has nuclear weapons or not. No, this group can have nuclear weapons, but they can't. Let me see. What's the put their skin? Maybe put a skin test up. How dark is their skin? I don't know about that one. I don't know if they can have nuclear weapons. I don't know if we can trust that they would be responsible with theirs. And I'm just kind of clowning a little bit when it comes to it. But how do you think that you can pick and choose that Iran can or cannot have nuclear weapons without even forcing Israel to publicly, or at least admit to admit and join the treaty program when it comes to the nuclear weapons? How do we get to that point? How do we get to that point? So once again, yes, the logic that we have bought into for a very long time shows how naive and ignorant we are when it comes to a lot of these politics. And I guess I don't want to say the bad part about it is, but I think we're all understanding that, hey, even though the majority of us may look at it one way in this particular group chat, or this particular family that we have here, the masses are not thinking like this. The masses of people are not thinking like this. Let's keep going.
They are producing, by some estimates, over 100 of these missiles a month. Compare that to the 6 or 7 interceptors that can be built a month. They can build 100 of these a month, not to mention the thousands of one-way attack drones that they also.
Let me see. This is the perfect example, and this is the perfect example. This is why I love my brother Vons. Republicans reaching for anything now have to tell the public something. Vons, you're falling into the trap. You're falling into the trap. You're falling into the trap. If you sit here and you think, and there's probably a lot of people on here that do vote Democrat, that do think that, oh, well, it's the Republicans, it's this, it's that. Bro, did you have that same energy when it comes to all the bombs that Barack Obama was dropping on people? It's the same thing. You're talking about Republicans reaching for anything now, bro. Biden and Biden and Kamala Harris did not even ask for a ceasefire. You're falling into the trap. They're all the same. They're all pushing for war. And if you don't believe me, cool. Take a look at it. Is there a bigger? This is the man that was crying when Joe Biden lost the election. This man was literally crying on TV. This is the man that was crying on TV. This is the man that made a joke. Matter of fact, let's actually bring up the joke that he made, Vons. Let me bring this up. When he said the dead Gaza babies, you remember that one? You remember that on TV? Oh, that sounded real Republican-y. Take a look at this. Hold on. Take a look at this. Hold on. Let me try to pull it up. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. I was not anticipating playing this clip, but Vons called for it. Hold on. Since it's just Republicans. This is the point. This is the point. Hold on.
With a disinformation campaign that they are running through TikTok and Instagram that is massive. If you are a young person, you open up your phone and all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, right. Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. Like, that's basically your whole thing.
Now hold up. Now let's take a look at what Van Jones is recently telling us.
If you like peace, and if you like democracy, and if you like women being free, and if you like innovation, unleash these Persians. Well, I mean, I think what's happening.
If you like, oh, imagine if he said this, watch.
If you like peace, and if you like democracy, and if you like women being free, and if you like innovation,
unleash the Epstein files, right? It's like, bro, how are we so confident going into another country? How are we so confident feeding our people propaganda, bro? None of us know what's going on in Iran. Think about like if we closed our eyes and thought about what's life like for Iranians. None of us would know. None of us know. We just hear certain things, mostly based on what the mainstream news outlets are telling us. The mainstream news outlets, they want war. I don't care what they say. They want whatever brings them ratings. That's what they want to talk about. They know that when there's war, when there's more chaos, when Donald Trump's saying wild stuff, they know that that's what brings ratings. They do not care about anything other than what brings them ratings, because then they can charge more for advertising dollars and put more money in their pockets. So we sit back and we have to wonder, wait, Democrats and Republicans, I thought they disagree on everything. I thought they disagree on everything. But it's funny that the things that they tend to agree on, or at least in this example, are the things that make absolutely no sense. Perhaps it's because the people that pay both of them, they realize like, all right, this one's a wild one. So we need y'all to, you normally on these topics, y'all can be radically opposed. But on this particular issue, we need y'all, hey, bring it in a little bit. Be a little bit closer to each other because the American people, 80% of them don't want to go to war with Iran. So how do we convince them? How do we make it Democrat versus Republican? Or I should say, how do we not make it Democrat versus Republican on this particular issue and maybe just have a unified front, right? They seem to be very unified when it comes to us needing to go to Iran and us strike Iran and create the next world war. We are in World War III. Have y'all realized how many countries like Dubai was hit? Dubai was hit. Dubai was known as a safe country in that region. Dubai was known as a safe place in that region. Hold on, I want to look this up. Hold on. If Dubai was, I'm sorry, I'm over here tripping. But if you have cities like Dubai, I said country. If you have cities like Dubai being hit, then what does that do to Dubai's economy? What does that do? Dubai is done. If people no longer feel safe going to the city of Dubai, then let me continue look this up. I wanted to see how many people died. Hold on. How many people were killed in Dubai attack? Let me see if so it says preliminary figures are this may not say Dubai. So it says which countries have been attacked. So Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has launched attacks on 27 bases in the Middle East where U.S. troops are deployed, as well as Israeli military facilities. All right, let me see if I can look at the UAE to try to get some type of numbers on Dubai. I mean, now somebody look up some numbers, but it doesn't even matter. The fact that the reason why it doesn't matter is because in people's minds, if once they feel that Dubai is not safe, who's going to go? Who's going to go to Dubai now? So Iran is not playing games. If you're seen as an ally to America, you're an op. That's how we're looking. That's how they're looking at it. That's how they're looking at it. So if you imagine if a country did something to our country where they threatened our economy, what would we see that as? That's war. That is a declaration of war. So whether it's Dubai or any of these other places that have been hit, I believe, how do you pronounce? Some people say Qatar. Some people say Qatar. I don't know the proper pronunciation. I need to look that up. But all of this, let's just keep playing the video.
Unleash these Persians. Well, I mean, I think what's happening in Iran may be the most important thing happening in the world.
What's happening in Iran is the most important thing happening in the world. Listen to the music, listen to everything. They're trying to act as if America is the freedom fighting organization. I think if we were on the spectrum of freedom fighter or demonic, where do y'all think we would land a little bit closer to when it comes to America? And this is another way that we get tricked off, Vons, because Vons was saying how they think we're stupid. Yeah, they do think we're stupid. And we are. You want to know why? Because we don't even realize that all this death that we're causing throughout the world, do we not think, are we just that arrogant and cocky to think that that's not going to visit our doorsteps? Yesterday, I told I was talking to the fam and I said, yo, the World Cup's going to be in New York, Jersey, and Miami. Two places where we live, right? Jersey and Miami. I'm staying as far away from any type of World Cup, anything, because of stuff like this. Could you imagine, right? They're trying to push us to a world war. So what would be something that would justify a lot of different countries getting involved in a war? And who's to even say that the country, one country may do it. Wasn't there just a false flag operation? Didn't some Mossad agents or something what just happened recently? I just saw it. I didn't even watch the video, but I just saw it where they were saying that these false flag operations, it was real like dancing Israeli type energy or something like that. It was something along those lines. So when it comes to the World Cup, would you be surprised if there was some sort of, whether it's a false flag or real attack? Would you be surprised? Because all it's going to do is justify all of these countries that we think hate each other, just like we think that the Democrats and Republicans hate each other. Just like when we go to a WWE event or watch it on TV, we think that those people actually hate each other. No, they don't hate each other. They're getting money together. They're getting money together. And the more they act like they hate each other and the more they convince their people to hate each other's people, then they can get even more money and justify more wars. If we hate Iran, then everything becomes, we see it from an entirely different lens where now anything that we do to them becomes more and more justified. That's just how it goes. Van Jones is putting out this is like they put out these sales pitches, whether it's Trump Gaza, remember the Trump Gaza video that Trump put out? Or it's this. This is just a sales pitch to an audience based on the powers that be telling them, hey, this is what we're doing today. This is the product. Have you ever worked for it in sales? It's the people that make the product, and then it's the people that sell the product. And a lot of times, those people are going back and forth, right? Bro, just sell the product, bro. You're not part of the product development team. Sell the product that we put in front of you. I don't care if it's not as good as your competitive product. Sell the product. And that's what these politicians do.
Unleash 90 million people who come from one of the most creative, imaginative, and regal cultures in the history of the world, which could help all humanity tomorrow instantly. It's worth the fight to get them free. A lot of stuff you were dealing with today,
it's worth the fight to get them free. Our politicians are trying to convince us it's worth a fight with Iran to free these Iranians. This is what they're trying to convince us. Hey, Vons, this isn't a Republican, just to keep you updated.
all humanity.
I know I said it before the video started, but I just wanted to refresh your memory because all the things that we're hearing, I know they align with whatever Marco Rubio, Donald Trump, all the people on the Republicans, or the other people on the Republican side are saying. I know it sounds very similar, so I just wanted to give you a refresher, just so we all could reset the room and understand that this is a Democrat saying this.
Tomorrow instantly. It's worth the fight to get them free. A lot of stuff you were dealing with today, they invented. And so they just had a lid on their head for half of a century. And so I think a freed up Persian culture.
We've had a lid on our head for longer than a half a century. The lid on our head is the ignorance that comes along with us buying into thinking that it's Democrat versus Republican. We've had a lid on our heads. Talk about that lid, Van Jones. Talk about how you've contributed to the lid that has been placed, or the blindfold that has been placed on Americans as we get manipulated and indoctrinated with all the BS, whether it's the teachings in the school as we're growing up, or it's what Van Jones is doing, the BS selling. He knows he's selling BS products, but he's talking about what's going on in Iran. The lid that's been on these people's heads. Bro, this is embarrassing.
A lot of stuff you were dealing with today, they invented. And so they just had a lid on their head for half of a century. And so I think a freed up Persian culture can be incredible for technology, can be incredible for humanity, can be incredible for the arts. It could be the end of a lot of BS in the region. You need a free Iranian people. You need the Persians back on the map for this century to work out well.
Free from what and free from who? They need to be free from America intervention. If we really want to free them, take these damn don't we have sanctions on them? Hold on. I want to look this up. Has America placed sanctions on Iran? Let's actually look at this. I just want to look this up very quickly. Yes, the United States has placed extensive sanctions on Iran, and it continues to add new ones. In fact, Iran is one of the most heavily sanctioned countries in the world. The U.S. government has maintained economic sanctions on Iran since 1979 after the Iranian Revolution and the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis. The U.S. tries to block Iran from selling oil internationally, which is one of Iran's biggest sources of revenue. Companies, ships, and countries that help Iran export oil can also be sanctioned. So here we are, leading to a lot of, you know what a lot of these people are protesting? They're protesting their quality of life in Iran. And have we negatively impacted that quality of life or positively impacted it? Wait, we've been putting sanctions on them from 1979 so they can't sell their products. They can't sell. Could you imagine if somebody came to you? That's like saying that you can't work. If you can't work, how do you put food on the table? If I don't sell something, then how am I able to feed and stimulate my economy? So America, this seems to be the reoccurring theme with a lot of these European nations. I'm just being real. Got to call a spade a spade. This seems to be a reoccurring theme. What do? Yo, let's put sanctions. Let's create chaos amongst the people. Matter of fact, they do the same thing to us in America. So we should understand the play that they're doing to other countries. Let's create as much chaos, as much division as possible. How do we do that? We make the people's lives in that country miserable. How do we go about that? Let's put sanctions on it. So therefore we can destroy their economy. So therefore, these people that are protesting, why are they protesting? Oh, they're protesting because the Iranian government wasn't strong enough, I guess, to survive with the sanctions that America has placed on them. But now we're trying to act as if America, we're the freedom fighters. And in a lot of these situations, we create the problems. We create the problems. So I know it sounds good and looks good when we could just run into Venezuela and kidnap their president because we got a lot of people in that nation that may be staging uprisings or in Iran, doing all the protests and stuff. I know all that stuff looks good. But when we start to actually dig deeper and peel that onion back, who's largely responsible for a lot of this stuff? Let's keep going. Iranian banks are largely cut off from the U.S. financial system. U.S. companies and many international firms are prohibited from doing business with Iran. Sanctions on military and nuclear programs. Individuals and companies tied to Iran's nuclear research, missile development, and weapons programs are regularly sanctioned. Sanctions for human rights issues. The U.S. has also sanctioned Iranian officials and security commanders accused of repressing protests and human rights abuses. So therefore, now we can sanction their government officials. Now, it's only when it's a human rights issue. Because America, we care about human rights. We care about humans. So we're only going to, no, they're sanctioning people if the leaders don't agree with the things that America wants them to do or to move in, or if we can't extort them the way that we believe they should allow us, Gaddafi, all these other situations, Maduro. If you're not allowing us to extort you for your resources, we will create whatever chaos necessary to get your country to turn against you, and then we'll slide in and act as if we're the freedom fighters, and we'll justify it to our silly, dumb Americans that just are going to follow whatever it is that we push them to, because all we got to do is stage our own chaos against each other. But on this issue, we may have to unite and bring everybody together. So therefore, everybody's seeing things the same way as, hey, this is a justified decision. What has been recently happening, even when it comes to Israel? Americans are turning on Israel. It just is what it is. It's a fact. Americans are no longer looking at Israelis, Bibi Netanyahu, the way that we used to before. We are not just blindly supporting them as we've done in the past. We're seeing these things happen. When it comes to Iran, 80% of the people did not want to do that. But we're still doing it. The politicians are still doing it. So it's just case in point. The politicians don't care about doing anything that we vote for them to do. They serve a higher power. They serve a higher power. No, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about oligarchs. That's who I'm talking about, who play God and worship false gods. That's who I'm talking about. All right, let's finish up this Van Jones video. Let's finish this up.
People don't even know how good it's going to feel to have a world where where the Iranian people are allowed to actually do what they've always done, which is to contribute to world culture. Like, we don't even know what we're missing. When we get that back, we're going to be mad that we let it take this long.
When we get that back, we're going to be mad that we didn't strike them earlier. Like, what is Van Jones even talking about, bro? What is he even talking about? But like I said, just another example. And very quickly, before we get into the Professor Jang video, I want to play a few other videos real quick. I want to play this video that you really can't make this stuff up. You really can't make this stuff up. This is getting ready to be, the end times may be near. And we should be very, how can I look at this? I don't want to say appreciative that we're living during these times, but we should be empowered to be living during these times. You can call it destiny, call it whatever. We happen to be in the game when it's crunch time. What are we going to do? A lot of people play meaningless minutes when it comes to sports. Shout out to Phyllis. You know I'm going to use the sports references. But a lot of people only get in the game in the first quarter, second quarter, maybe start off the second half, but then they're not playing any minutes into the fourth quarter when the game's actually on the line. The game is on the line. The game is on the line. Anybody that thinks that this does not have the potential to destroy the world, to have, remember, you know those videos that we look at in Palestine where it's just rubble? It just seems like miles and miles of just burnt buildings, and like it looks, you know what it looks like? A scene out of Book of Eli. That's what it looks like to me. This has the potential to turn into that in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. I don't know. But when people start playing around with all this nuclear stuff, it's going to get to a point where some countries are not going to allow America and Israel to just keep bullying whatever other country. We're sitting here acting like Iran doesn't have allies as well. We sit here and act like Iran is not capable themselves. Who knows if if we listen to Bibi Netanyahu and a lot of these politicians, they've been weeks away from developing nuclear bombs, right? For what, 10, 15 years? I know that we like to listen to our politicians, and we listen to Trump and Bibi Netanyahu and all the neocons say, look, we destroyed their nuclear capabilities. Even though Tulsi Gabbard went on record and said before this that they're not even close to developing nuclear weapons. Then Trump said she doesn't know what she's talking about. They did the bunker buster bombs or whatever those were. Those supposedly took out all their nuclear capabilities, but here we are a year later. And I guess they didn't take out enough. So looking at it from that standpoint, what if they already have nuclear weapons? What if some other countries that we don't know of have nuclear weapons? What if they're ambiguous like Israel, right? We need to start looking into what's the Samuel? What's the Samson? The Samson? Y'all let me know in the chat. What's it called again? The Samson option, I believe it's called. We need to start looking into what the Samson option is. Matter of fact, don't worry about it. We'll look it up. We'll look it up right here. What's the Samson option? Now, we've spoken about this before, but I think it warrants a little bit more focus on it today. So let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. All right, show on stream. All right, let's take a look. What is this Samson option? The Samson option is a term. Hold on. There you guys go. All right. So the Samson option is a term used by analysts, not an official policy, to describe the idea that Israel might use its nuclear arsenal as a last resort deterrent if the country were facing total destruction. Key points kept high level. It refers to massive retaliation, not first strike use. If it's based on Israel's policy of strategic ambiguity about its nuclear capabilities, not if, it's based on Israel's policy of strategic ambiguity about its nuclear capabilities. The concept is named after the biblical story of Samson, who destroyed himself along with his enemies. It's discussed mainly by scholars, journalists, and former officials, not endorsed publicly by the Israeli government. If this is an option or something that is real in whatever way when it comes to Israel, do we not think that other countries may have that? Y'all sit here and they try to convince me. I'm talking about y'all. I'm talking about these politicians. They try to convince me that all of these Muslim countries are jihadist, especially these Shia countries. And we definitely got to look into the difference between Shia and Sunni because for a lot of us, we may not be aware of the difference. And I just, did some research on it, learned a little bit about, what tore the different, groups apart. But do we not think that these people that they're trying to convince us that they're all suicide bombers and they're this and they think that it's placed in high regards, them martyring themselves? So if that's the case, what makes us think that some of these people may not have a Samson option or some other countries may not have a Samson option? There's a lot of people that, shout out to Phyllis, another sports reference, that when they're losing games at the local park, they take their ball and go home. When it's next, nah, we're going to still use your ball, bro, but get off the court. You lost. Nah, I'm taking my ball. I'm going home. I'll ruin everybody's day. There's a lot of people with that. So we have to understand that all this war, all these things, all this destruction that we're pushing on other countries, we just destroyed their supreme leader. What is the supreme leader? Hold on. What is the supreme leader? Number 2? Hold on. What is the ranking of the supreme leader in Islam? Now, I'm assuming this is more with the Shias. So it says there is no position the supreme leader in Islam and a religion. That title only in political system of the Islamic Republic of Iran, not Islam as a whole. Okay, so Islam has no single global leader. All right, you get what I'm asking. The religious hierarchy exists, but still no single universal leader. Senior clerics include. All right, so if this is the most senior leader in Shia Islam, if this is the most superior leader, and you kill not only a political leader, but a religious leader, do we think that these people that they've been trying to convince us are the most evil, demonic killers, sacrificers in the world? Do we think that they're not going to do something in retaliation? Is it even smart? Like, I know Marco Rubio in the earlier video, he tried to convince us how it was an intelligent, logical move in order to strike them before they strike us. How about continue to negotiate? How about exercise that? Where are the people? How about Van Jones push for encouraging the American government to negotiate rather than him trying to sell us on the fact, nah, we got to go. We need a regime change. As if we're just very good and qualified to just create regime change in these regions that hate us already. But I guess that's just how things go. All right, so take a look at this video. Take a look at this video. Take a look at this. Who is this? I believe this is Naftali Bennett. They'll probably say it in the video.
But now you have Israel also trying to set the terms for the potential destruction of NATO, saying that they may even attack Turkey. Let's take a listen here to Naftali Bennett, the former Prime Minister of Israel. Get your reaction.
Turkish threat is emerging. I want to be very clear. Turkey and Qatar have gained influence in Syria, are seeking influence elsewhere and everywhere throughout the region. And from here, I warn, Turkey is the new Iran.
We going to war with Turkey. Like, yo. What Israel wants, America gets. That's how it goes. What Lola wants, no, what Israel wants, America, go fetch it. Now we're going to war with Turkey. That's That's what they're gonna put out there. Now Turkey's the new Iran. What is Iran? These countries would not even be on our radar. We could have amazing relationships with a lot of these countries if it wasn't for our special relationship with Israel. And clearly the problem with the relationship with Israel is that Israel is not making decisions based on what's best for America. They're making decisions based on what they want to accomplish in that region. So therefore, sometimes our stances may cross paths, they may align, overlap, but in the majority of the times, I would say that it doesn't. It only overlaps when we buy into this notion that Israel is our brother. No, we can only, unless we looking at all these countries as our brothers and sisters, then no, Israel's not special. You can't just, no, it's either all or nothing. Don't try to convince me that Israelis are my brothers, but Iranians are not, or that Palestinians are not. I look more Palestinian. Now, let me not go that. That would be. It has nothing to do with looks. It has nothing to do with anything other than we are spiritual brothers. The Palestinians are my spiritual brothers. The Israelis are my spiritual brothers. But when you try to convince me that, oh, just these people are your brothers. Matter of fact, the people that try to convince me that just a select group of people are my brothers, nah, bro. Y'all, I don't know where y'all came from. Y'all must be that's reptilian energy to me. Like that's not what we're aligned with. But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Erdogan is sophisticated, dangerous, and he seeks to encircle Israel. We can't close our eyes again. And while some senior Israelis were on Qatar's payroll, Qatar and Turkey are nourishing the Islamic Brotherhood monster that is growing and eventually might become as dangerous as the one created by Iran. Turkey and Qatar are gaining influence not only in Syria, but also in Gaza, through the front door, and everywhere, and trying to create a new choke ring. Turkey is trying to flip Saudi Arabia against us and establish a hostile Sunni axis with nuclear Pakistan.
So, Scott, if this war continues to drag on, they're potentially maybe attacking Turkey, which would probably be the dissolution of NATO itself. Your reaction both to that clip and to the entire situation?
Well, first of all, I have to say that Naftali Bennett is the cause of September 11th. For people who don't know, in 1996, Naftali Bennett called in an artillery strike on a UN shelter in Qana, Lebanon, and killed 108 women and children. And bin Laden went off all about that in his first declaration of war in 1996. And when Mohammed Atta and his best friend Ramzi bin al-Shibh read bin Laden's declaration of war and his declaration that they need to get revenge for the Qana massacre and Operation Grapes of Wrath, that was what made Mohammed Atta, the lead hijacker of September 11th, decide to join al-Qaeda. And so literally, it was that man's murder of innocent women and children that caused those two towers full of 3,000 innocent men and women to be brought down on September 11th. So don't anyone ever forget that about Naftali Bennett.
And for a lot of people who, I've heard people say this as far as, what did I hear people saying? Like that it's not all of Israel, right? It's not all of Israel. It may not be all of the Israelis. But when it comes to, well, let me just share the screen. When it comes to the Israeli government, perhaps they're just as united as Democrats and Republicans in America when it comes to us getting involved in wars, whether it's Iran or any other war that we get involved with. But take a look at this. So are y'all familiar with Benny Gantz? Are you familiar with Benny Gantz? So Benny Gantz is, hold on. Benny Gantz is Bibi Netanyahu's biggest op when it comes to politics. That's his political rival. You know what Benny Gantz said on this? We are all in this together. He has repeatedly said this when it comes to this Iran threat. He's known for criticizing Netanyahu on domestic issues, but supporting national security actions, especially against Iran. He is currently a major opposition leader. He's the former IDF chief of staff and former defense minister. This is his political rival. So when you look at all of these different situations occurring, and we're sitting here thinking, well, Bibi Netanyahu, he just represents one party. No, they are united on this particular issue. That's what we need to focus on, whether it's America, whether it's Israel. We need to focus on, well, what are the things that they're united on? It seems to be that the American politicians seem to only unite when it's putting money in wealthy people's pockets, the oligarchs, or when it's killing different groups of people throughout the world so we can, I guess, elevate our dominance and extortion to a lot of these regions with natural resources. Natural resources, trade routes, whatever it is now, we want to own all that. So therefore, we'll use whatever justification we need to in order to convince the American people that this is something that they should get on board with. That seems to be what's happening, in my opinion. So, man. Man. All right, let's get into, can we get into Professor Jang? I want to learn something. Oh, one more video real quick. One more video. Since we're focusing on prime ministers and Naftali is the former prime minister of Israel, let's listen to what the Spanish prime minister had to say very quickly. It's a short video, but he believes that we're playing Russian roulette with this Iran war.
Well, Spain's prime minister has doubled down on his criticism of the attack on Iran by the US and Israel, warning the conflict risks playing Russian roulette with the lives of millions. Pedro Sanchez was responding after US President Donald Trump threatened to cut trade with Madrid over its position on the conflict. Now, tensions between the two NATO allies have risen after Sanchez described the bombing of Iran as reckless and illegal. Also barred US aircraft involved in the operation from using Spanish naval and air bases.
Debemos aprender de la historia.
We should learn from history, and we can't play Russian roulette with the destiny of millions of people.
I almost made it the whole show today. All right. Yeah. All right, joke's on me. Do me a favor, like. Do me a favor, like. That's all I was saying for that all that time. Like. No, what I actually was saying is that when it comes to the Spanish prime minister, and I don't even know where I started, but let me just make the point without elaborating too much. Yeah, I get it. All right. I had the sniffles, so therefore I put it on mute. I didn't want y'all hearing that. But see, Turkey is a NATO ally of ours. Turkey is an ally of ours. So Turkey joined NATO in 1952, right? And it's seen as a very important strategic country just because of where it's positioned, where it's the Europe, Middle East, Black Sea. It just has, it's in a very unique place, perhaps, I guess would be the right way to say it. But if we start now deciding to go to war with our ally, being led to war with one of our allies based on Israel, like is there any other way to look at this than the world war? And a lot of people who, may look at this and say, well, Naftali Bennett, he's not the current prime minister. So therefore, just because he's saying this doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. No, they are very united on these things. The one thing that Israelis seem to be very united on, at least the government, however you want to look at it, is pushing this greater Israel project, expanding, more control, more dominance, more extortion of the region. That seems to be very clear. More death of Muslims. Is that too much? Because that's what it seems like it is. So let's get back to the Spanish prime minister. My apologies for that again.
Spanish naval and air bases.
Debemos aprender de la historia.
We should learn from history, and we can't play Russian roulette with the destiny of millions of people. The powers involved in this conflict should immediately stop the hostilities and rely on dialogue and diplomacy. And the rest of us should act in a coherent way, defending the same values that we defend when we talk about Ukraine, Gaza, Venezuela and Greenland.
Well, Sonia Gallego joins us now from London, and obviously this is the strongest condemnation yet from a European leader against Donald Trump's conflict that he began against Iran. Can you just talk us through some of the consequences of these statements?
I think it's safe to say that there is no love lost between President Trump and Prime Minister Sanchez. Both of them have been at odds with each other. Trump especially bearing down quite heavily on Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez for not living up to what he says are his NATO obligations as well. Spain, of course, dismissing itself out of paying 5% on defence as well. So the stage had already been set for very negative response and relationship between both sides as well. But Pedro Sanchez is perhaps not a leader to back down from a fray as well. He indeed insisted his objective was really that to international order as well, underlining that you can't just commit one illegality in the place of another as well. He underlined this. He said that this is the position that Spain would take regardless of the conflict, whether it was in Ukraine or Gaza as well. And what he also recalled as well was the fact that, of course, the Iraq War in 2003 is still very much fresh in the memory of the country as well, and the international repercussions from that too. He also said that in such a situation that this really could cause a great disaster. So what Pedro Sanchez is maintaining is that there needs to be a return to diplomatic means. That is what he says is most urgent. And of course, that Spain would apply and certainly send out its support to its allies in the region, but certainly not when it comes to any combat missions.
Okay.
I like that. I like that Spanish prime minister energy. I like that. Nah, you playing Russian roulette. Call it out. Stop getting bullied by Trump. Stop getting bullied by Trump. And it's not even bullied by Trump. Well, we know who the biggest bully is. It's like it is getting bullied by Trump, but Trump only going to bully you because he's getting bullied. And that's what, instead of him just addressing his bully, bro, go address the man that's bullying you. Go address the man that's putting your country that you're supposed to represent. We the people of America. Donald Trump is supposed to be our protector, right? Supposed to be our protector and provider. Could you imagine if as a man, ladies, you have this man who's a protector and provider of you, and he just continues to allow you to be put in vulnerable situations. He's getting bullied and now he's bullying you, but he won't even step up to the bully. Like, bro, don't have that energy towards me at home when you're getting bullied at work all day by your boss and then coming back home and taking it out on me. That's what I know a lot of women probably thinking. Like, yo, don't be, oh, you talk to me like that. I heard that conference call that you had. You ain't talk to your boss like that. That's the energy. So I like the Spanish prime minister calling him out. I like that. All right, let's get into the professor. Not capital T, the professor. I know that's a special term only for Dr. King. But yeah, this is yeah. Well, actually, Dr. King's is more just professor. But yeah, all right. So our guy, let's get into our guy's video, Professor Zhang. If you're familiar with Professor Zhang, put it in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar. Nah, let us know your favorite Professor Zhang video. But let's tap in. Class is officially in session. Let me pull this up very quickly. Share the screen for y'all. Let's get into it. All right.
I hope everyone had a nice break, and welcome back.
And very quickly, this video was on why killing Khomeini, if I pronounced that correctly, was a bad idea. Professor Zhang, take it away.
To the end of the world.
Whoa,
as you know, World War III has started. It's the end. I hope everyone had a nice break, and welcome back to the end of the world. So as you know, World War III has started. The United States and Israel have started to attack Iran. And we are now in the 4th day of this war. And we can expect this war to last for many weeks, possibly also for many years. But I promise you that after this war is done, the world will never be the same again. So what we will do these next few weeks is use game theory and understand and analyze the geopolitical situation.
And very quickly, hold on, I got to address this just because this is a good point. Shout out to Negative. Shout out to Negative. Yeah, we got to change that to positive, man. Come on now. But nah, it's all good. He is just a high school teacher. This is how bad our education system is, that we look at him as just a high school teacher. And I'm not even sure that what I'm saying does not necessarily represent what Negative was alluding to. But think about it from that standpoint. He's just a high school teacher. No, it should be, oh, he's a teacher, right? But it's because of our terrible education system that we look at, he's just a high school teacher. But think about it. Why can't our high school teachers be teaching how their high school teachers are teaching? And I don't know if this is across the board when it comes to Professor Zhang. So Negative, I'm just going off of what you said. You said that he's in China, I believe. I don't know that, but if he is, maybe we need to bring in some of those on these H-1B visas. We don't need all the people helping with AI. We need some more high school teachers. Bring the high school teachers in on some H-1B visas then, if they're going to teach us history like this. So yeah, let me yeah. All right. You said he's based. All right. So yeah. Let me just shut up.
And so I'm going to teach you the ideas, the theory, the techniques to understand the world around you and make predictions. And we can know if our analysis is correct because all this is happening in real time. And so we can test it against reality. All right. So let's go over some basic facts about what's happened so far. So in the early morning of Saturday, in Tehran, the Israelis and Americans launched a decapitation strike against the Ayatollah Khamenei, who is the supreme leader of Iran. Now, there are arguments and disputes about as to what happened. The Americans and Israelis said that they had real intelligence about where the leader was, and so they sent airplanes to just bomb the crap out of the place. They also had a spy who was able to record the body of the dead Ayatollah. And then this was announced. At first, the Iranians denied this, and the Iranians insisted he was still alive. But eventually, state media admitted that he did die in the airstrike. But then what they also said is that the Ayatollah, he's 86 years old, and he chose to die. He could have gone to Moscow, but instead he chose to stay in Tehran and die for his people. But not only that, but he died along many of his relatives. He died along with his daughter, his son-in-law, his grandchildren.
Damn, he going down with the ship. And the whole family went down with the ship. But the fact that he decided to stay in Moscow, believe what you want to believe about him, but that type of person and that type of leader, I would imagine that they have other people that will be inspired by what a lot of them will believe is a heroic act. This is where the martyrdom comes in. I'm talking too much while Professor is here. I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring up that point that I wanted to ask y'all a question. Like, what do you think Trump would do? You think Trump would stick around or he would go to Moscow? I don't know. What do you think a lot of our leaders would do?
So many of the family died in this assault.
Hold on, I gotta address it. Hold up. Samira, yeah, didn't Bibi leave? And what's funny is I couldn't confirm this, but a lot of people were saying that Bibi went to Germany. A lot of people were saying that Bibi went to Germany, which is kind of ironic in some ways. But yeah, Bibi ain't stay. Bibi ain't stay. If you're the leader of your country and your country's facing strikes, why don't you go down in one of them bunkers that y'all got? And why don't you sit tight? Why don't you make sure that you stay there? Or maybe don't even go in a bunker. Whatever it is. But I'm just asking. Or is your life more important than your people? Because it seems like the Ayatollah said that, oh no, my life is not worth more than my people. Neither is my family's life worth more than my people. If we're at war, then we're going to be at war. And I'm going to make sure that I'm not running from these front lines. I'm right here. Bibi ran, allegedly. I don't know if that is there any confirmation of that, Samira? Is there any confirmation? Let's keep it moving.
Also, there's been reporting that he had prostate cancer. Okay, so he was going to die fairly soon as well. So what you need to understand first about the war is that even though the Americans and the Israelis claim great success in decapitating the leadership of the Iranians, from the Iranian perspective, this is a martyrdom, okay? And so the religion of the Iranians is called Shia Muslim. And this is different from Sunni Muslim. So Sunnis are the majority. They're about 9% of all Muslims in the world. The Shia have always been the minority. And as such, they've always been persecuted. So in the Shia faith, the core value, the force that binds everyone together and gives them purpose and meaning in life, that galvanizes them into action, is the idea of martyrdom, which forces jihad. To sacrifice yourself for your religion, sacrifice yourself for the common good. So think of the death of Khamenei as a sacrifice, a self-sacrifice, in order to motivate the Iranians in this war, okay? So that's the first thing you need to understand. That for the Iranians, this is not a geopolitical war. This is not an economic war. This is not a war of resistance. This is a jihad. Okay? It's a war against the great Satan to avenge their leader. They will fight to the death. All right? That's number one. Number two is this. Also that morning, when the Ayatollah was killed, the Israelis struck a school in the south of Tehran, killing about 150 school children. These are girls in private.
And very quickly, I think, once again, I said it earlier, look up the difference between Sunni and Shia. I mean, it almost reminds me of a similar split between like Isaac and Ishmael, or with the families and how they decided to split just based on how the leadership was going to be passed down at a particular time and how they split on that issue. And perhaps them being the smaller minority has created a lot of this mindset where they have had to, or they believe they've had to sacrifice and have more of a martyr mindset than a lot of the other religions. But just look into it, because I'm not even sure that everything, I just want you to do your due diligence, because I'm just learning this myself. So I just didn't want to misspeak and have y'all misspeaking based on me saying it. So
primary school. And again, there's not debate and argument as to what happened. The Israelis said that, first of all, the school was next to a military base. We were targeting the military base. And second of all, it wasn't us which struck the school. It was a air defense missile that went off course. Okay? And the Iranians insisted no. The Israelis purposefully attacked the school to kill the school children. And then you're like, why would the Israelis do that? But then these few years, well, we've seen what they've done in Gaza, in Palestine to the Palestinians. And it's pretty consistent what the Israelis have been doing. All right? So this action against the Israelis, it's meant to show to themselves and the world that we are now all in. Okay? We've made the sacrifice. We are now committed to this war, to winning this war at all costs. And this action has also provoked the Iranian people to resist with their full might, okay? So I want you to keep this in mind. And again, we don't have complete evidence that it's the Israelis who did this, but given past actions from the Israelis, this is fairly consistent with what they've done, okay? So we can assume that this is something the Israelis did. Why they did this, what the purpose is something we will discuss as we move on, okay? It's very complicated. Next, I want to show you this. This is Dubai. And Dubai is considered one of the wealthiest, safest cities in the world. There are thousands, tens of thousands of Westerners who move to Dubai because it's clean, you don't pay any taxes, you make a lot of money, and there are great restaurants. And this is really the economic model of Dubai. It's one of the GCC countries, okay? The Gulf coastal countries. And for the longest time, Dubai had a really good deal because they were under the protection of the American military. So they didn't have to pay for defense. And then they were in the Middle East, which is the oil producing center of the world. And so they focus on aviation, they focus on logistics, they focus on finance, on tourism. They became extremely wealthy, right? I'm not sure if you've taken Emirates, one of the best airlines in the world. So their airport, Dubai Airport, is the busiest in the world. And Dubai, for the longest time, was flourishing under American protection. And Dubai said to the world, listen, we're like Switzerland. We're neutral. We don't want any involvement in any wars. We're here just to take care of our citizens, to make sure everyone has a good time, to make money. And then right after the war started, the Iranians attacked the GCC, okay? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, they attacked these places. And these places were like, what's going on? We're neutral, man. We're not involved in this war. And the airport was shut down in Dubai. At one point, the rich people in Dubai were willing to pay about $250,000 US just to get on a plane and get out of there.
You gonna get involved. That's what they said. You already involved. That's what they're saying. You linked up with America. You think you're safe under American protection, you're involved. Why didn't you? Maybe you should have had a stronger voice in pushing America to not get involved in striking Iran. That's what did we talk about? Samson option. All right, y'all want to attack us? All right, we'll crash out. Let's see who's willing to crash out more. Let's see who's willing to crash out more. And going back to Marco Rubio's statements, so now, Marco Rubio, were you looking out for these people that are apparently under our protection? We care so much about the Iranian lives, right? And apparently Marco Rubio knew that they would retaliate. He knew that they would retaliate if Israel struck. So they knew that Israel was going to strike. They knew that Iran would retaliate, which was the justification for America striking Iran, which I'm assuming that would make Iran retaliate even more. So now look at all the chaos that has been caused in this region. Look at all the chaos that has been caused in this region, where 30, 40, 50, 100 years down the line, we're gonna forget the fact that we actually struck Iran first, that Israel struck Iran first, And to the victor who's telling the history, well, hopefully we got 100 more years. And to the victor that's telling the history of all this, what is it going to read? What are they going to write down as far as how this happened? You can see it right now. These Iranians, they're Amalekites, they're all this stuff. They were killing protesters in the streets. Yeah, and conveniently avoiding the fact that, hey, didn't America just kill a couple protesters in the streets? Oh, well, that's different. Okay, I bet. Okay, you see how they're going to write this out. You see how they're going to write this out. Instead of America, who empowers Israel, telling Israel, you're not striking anything. Because if you strike, then we're going to strike, and there's going to be a whole bunch of strikes, and it's going to cause a world war that is centralized in that Middle Eastern region. I guess Rubio wasn't thinking that far ahead.
Okay? So the reality is this. For the longest time, Dubai had a reputation for being safe, and that's why people moved their money there. Guess what, guys? After what the Iranians did, it's dead. Dubai as a city, in the long term, it is dead. Because you're a wealthy Westerner, you're not going to move to a place where it could be attacked anytime by the Iranians. You might move to Singapore, you might move to Hong Kong, Japan, South America, but you're not moving to Dubai, okay? So the big question for us is, why did the Iranians do this? It was the Israelis and the Americans who attacked you, why go after the GCC? All right? And not only that, but they're escalating the attacks against the GCC. So this is something that we will look at very closely today. Well, the short answer is because these places, even though they pretend to be neutral, they house the American military. They allow the Israelis and the Americans to use their airspace to attack Iran from. All right? So this is Bahrain. Now, Bahrain is...
Oh, nah, you're not neutral. You're not neutral. You don't get to conveniently try to just say you're neutral. Nah. You're not neutral, bro. You are involved. You are involved. Just because you allow a country, another country, to have bases and sit comfy in your country so they can comfortably attack us, you think like, what? You are already involved. I don't care if you got bullied into being involved. Stand up. We'll show you how to stand up when the odds are against us. People think they're going to cause all this death and destruction to us. All right. Imagine if somebody approached you, a group of guys, right? A group of guys approach you. They try to jump you and stuff. You going to just lay down and let them jump you? Yeah, you're outnumbered. Yeah, or you're going to have the mindset of, yo, I don't care. I'm biting as many people as I can. I'm breaking as many legs. I'm trying to hurt as many people as I can before they going to get me. So what? That's the energy that they're leading with. And it's kind of hard not to respect it in a lot of ways. It's kind of hard not to, I don't like it because I don't like any type of violence, or let me say it's hard not to justify, or it's hard not to understand it. Maybe that's the better way. It's hard not to have a certain level of empathy. Bro, you think that you about to house the people that are sending missiles to us, and you're allowing it, being complicit. See, this is that same energy. I think we just talked about it. Same energy with bin Laden when he wrote that letter. It's like, oh, this is why we did 9/11. Because y'all continue to empower Israel to create all this chaos in this region and visit all this death and destruction upon the people.
Interesting, okay? Because I want you guys to remember this, but Bahrain will probably be one of the major centers of this conflict. Because, first of all, this is the American Fifth Fleet, all right? This is their naval base in the Middle East. And as you can see, the Iranians are attacking it with missiles, and it's being blown up. Bahrain is interesting because it has about 50% or even more, okay, Shia, which is the religion of the Iranians. But the people in charge are the Sunnis. And so what makes this strike really important from our perspective is, first of all, not only are the Iranians attacking U.S. military assets, not only are they destroying the economies of the GCC, but they're also trying to ignite a religious war, right? Because you're Shia, you're loyal to the Ayatollah. And if he's dead, then you must as a religious obligation, now commit jihad against your enemies. And it's no different in other religions where, listen, if you want to kill the Pope, the Catholics would be really angry at you and they would want to kill you, right? So now you have the Shia who will probably eventually arise, creating a revolution in Bahrain, okay? So I think Bahrain will be the first to fall. Dubai will probably go bankrupt, okay? But in the long term, we can expect the entire GCC area, including Saudi Arabia, to eventually collapse, okay? And so this is something we'll use game theory to understand.
And what's wild is, so for a lot of people that are familiar with Professor Jang's channel, you know, he has two of them. One's named Predictive History, because he does a lot of these predictions based on game theory. So he predicted that Donald Trump would win. He predicted that Donald Trump would start the war with Iran, even though Donald Trump countless times said that he wouldn't. I mean, okay. But what he also predicted is that Iran would win the war. So I sit back and wonder, and there was another video that he was doing where he said our military is not like built for these new age battles. Our military was more built for like the old school battles, whatever that means. I forget exactly why he was justifying it. However, is America just the big bully in school that just hasn't been punched in the face lately? So perhaps our perception of the bully is a little bit different than the reality. We may find that out. America just may be that bully that hasn't been checked, hasn't been challenged in a while, because they just go based on just reputation, right? Yo, don't mess with America. Why? Oh, no, trust me, don't mess with America. Oh, okay. Nobody messes with America. And then you push a certain group of people to where it's like, nah, we don't care. What's the worst that could happen? Matter of fact, everything that we feared, which held us back from checking the bully, we now are in that position anyway. So we may as well go down swinging, or worse. We'll just have to wait and see. So, all right. Do I want to get into another video? Do I want to get into another video? I was going to play a Jasmine Crockett video so we can end on a high note. Now I got it. That's bullying. Now I'm being a bully. I shouldn't be bullying, but let's do this. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to get into our breath work. It's 9:46 right now. By the time I'm talking y'all heads off, it'll probably, after the breath work, it'll probably end up being right on time. So let's pull up this breath work. So everybody do me a favor, like. We are getting ready to get into the most important part of this show. It got to the point where Monday, man, I enjoyed Monday so much that we just do some separate videos. Maybe, I don't know, to start the weekend, but just do like a meditation circle. Maybe we could just send this to everybody and we do some guided meditation, not on the live show. We just did that on Monday, but maybe something a little bit separate. Maybe we'll get into that. But let's get into our breath work. So for those that are not familiar, we do a 4-7-8 breathing technique to relieve anxiety, stress, maybe to just free our minds from a lot of the things that are going on right now that we're being propagandized with, that are right in front of our face, with the energy that's being circulated throughout this world. So we're going to do 4-second inhale, in which we're very intentionally focused on inhaling positive energy, feeling the positivity come into your system, feeling the enlightenment, or just maybe the calmness, whatever it is that's good for you. The empowering, maybe not empowering, but more uplifting, high frequency, bring it into your system. And empowering, no, I should say empowering. Definitely. Like all the things that are going to create this limitless mindset where we're not setting a ceiling for ourselves and limiting ourselves from becoming the best versions of ourselves. And then we're going to do a 7-second hold followed by an 8-second exhale, in which we're releasing all the negative energy, anything holding us back. All right. Y'all know what that is. So either follow the sound, or you can keep your eyes open and follow the dot. I'm going to close my eyes. So it starts on the first bell. And once again, do me a favor, like, before we get into this. Hold on. Let me get back to the actual video. Where'd I leave you? All right. I'm going to reset it, and it's going to start with an inhale. Oh, wait. It would help if I play on the screen. Hold. Go through it 2 more times. Keep releasing that negative energy. 2 more cycles. All right, this last inhale, be very intentional. Inhale positive energy, positive thoughts. Hold it. Then we're gonna release the remaining bit of that negative, hold back, limiting energy. Let it out. All right. We shall stop there. I almost kept going, but we gotta create our day, or at least start our day, create some positive energy throughout the day, spread some positive energy. That's our goal for today. Let's just spread some positive energy in whatever way we can. That's what y'all know what we come here to do. It's all about elevating on purpose, challenging ourselves to become the best leaders we can, the best followers we can, and anything in between. Whatever the role is that is getting us closer to that goal, my goal is always that greater peace, having us live in harmony, having us be free thinkers, independent investigators, spiritual brothers and sisters. That's the energy that we're on. And that's what we're striving to get to. So strength and honor, onward and upward. Figure out what your focus is going to be. Our focus is largely going to dictate our focus and decisions, the things we focus on and the decisions that we make, and how we bounce back from certain hardships. I would say those 3 things are typically going to create our reality. So if we don't like our reality, maybe it's time to look back and change some of those areas, the focus. Start with that maybe. And hopefully we can start moving towards a better place and get rid of all this negative war type talking, accepting war, accepting killing each other. We got to get beyond that. We're too powerful of spiritual beings to just accept war as a means to resolve conflict. So what are the things that you're going to focus on? That's what we call in your bag. So the things that I focus on in my bag: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. Got to add that balance there, and a big sprinkle, the big shaker of perspective. Got to add that perspective in the pot. Let's start and end with a proper perspective. And a lot of times that's going to take us challenging our beliefs and teachings thus far. So with that, let's see if we always get some wise words to finish the show. Big Bro Steve said, if I really want to improve my situation, I can work on the one thing over which I have control, myself. Stephen Covey. I love that. Let's see what else we got here. Hold on. The presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. I like that. I was listening. This reminds me of something that they were talking about, what dementia is. I think they were talking about like sugar in the brain. And it was talking about how much sugar we put in our brain. That's kind of what it reminded me of. Shout out to Big Bro Finn. I love the guided meditation. Yeah, and I think I told y'all on the show, I was initially anticipating I thought that was the Wayne Dyer video where he actually guides us through the entire meditation. When I was on there and I just started to hear the sound bowls or whatever the noises were, the frequencies, and I'm like, oh shoot, now I gotta guide it. I'm not going to just pick another video. I was like, go with the flow, baby, go with the flow. Guide the meditation, guide the meditation. Mama Lay said I still gotta watch Monday. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to do that guided meditation. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. And hold on. Lydia wrote something. Oh, it's true. Our military was built. It's true. Our military was built for Cold War, not in the 21st century ready. We're not in the 21st century ready. Gave to Ukraine and let Israel use for Iran the first. Hold on. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm with you as far as, yeah. I think that's exactly what Professor was saying as far as with the Cold War. Big bro Finn, hold on. Prioritize the ones who bring you peace, the ones who match your energy, who stand firm when it matters and see your depth. Alignment is a part of growth. Choose the people who choose you. I like it. I like it. I like it. If something can't go wrong, it simply will anyway. Oh, if something can't go wrong, it simply will anyway. Shout out to Negative, man, bringing some positivity to the room. I think, yeah, that's positive, right? I took it as positive. It's informing, and informative is a lot of times positive. So, elevate with purpose, rise not to be above others, but to become the strongest version of yourself. So your growth lifts everyone and everything around you. Like that, like that, like that. Having a loving heart and have a loving heart and sharing it with the world, man. Come on, man. That's all we got to do. All we got to do is have a loving heart and just share that with the world. It's very simple. We complicate things. We allow ourselves to be complicated and compromised in a lot of ways. It's a fact about oxygen. I drink hydrogen water. Hold up, Mama Lay. So I got a buddy of mine in Miami. He swears by hydrogen water. He's like, yo, any type of ailment, anything, you got cancer, you got this, hydrogen water. So I got to do a little bit more due diligence on that. Love and appreciate you all. Make the most of the day. Love unifies everything that exists. Imagination brings it alive together. They are the engine of growth, the power to learn, create, heal, and shape reality from within. Life's a garden. Dig it. Joe Dirt. There we go. I like that. I want that one too, Finn. Wait, both. All right, yeah. Now I'm reading stuff to make it sound crazy. And no, Lydia, it's all good. It's all good. Lydia said typo, sorry. Dang, I was still meditating. I heard my name. LOL, I needed that. Thank you. Nah, Lydia, we happy to have you here. We try to show love. If we didn't show love to anybody that came today, especially if it was your first time, then apologies. I saw Biff getting some love. I saw, I think we just read Cash's wise words. And hold on. Hopefully we got everybody. But if we didn't get you today, trust me, we'll get you Friday. We'll get you eventually because that's what family does. And we consider ourselves a family. So on that note, I'll see y'all Friday, fam. 8 a.m. or 8:02, not 8:03. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Ew.